Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel for another video. Today's video is going to be 5 easy crock pot meals. One of them will not be in the crock pot, one of them will be on the stove. So I must say 4 easy crock pot meals and 1 stove meal, but all of them are very easy to make. First of all, I just want to say I am not a chef or anything. I got all of these recipes off of Pinterest. I took my time and I looked for some recipes that I thought that me and my family would like. The first one that caught my eye is this lemon garlic butter chicken. And all you need for this recipe is some chicken breast. Their recipe actually called for chicken thighs, but I know that my family doesn't eat chicken thighs as much, so I'm using some chicken breast. I have already cleaned them and I have set them to the side. After you put your chicken breast in the crock pot, you will need 1/3 cup of low sodium chicken broth, and then you will need 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm just going to let you guys know that I am going to put all of my seasonings in a bowl, and then I will mix them up and then put them on my chicken. I will not put them directly on the chicken breast as of yet. The next seasoning you will need is a 1/2 teaspoon of red chili flakes, and then following that I will be using a 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Next up is the Italian seasoning. You will need 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then that will be the end of the seasoning. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my ingredients ready, but if you would like, you can go ahead and stir the seasonings. But we have a few more ingredients to prepare, so I like to get everything ready and prepped. So next you would need a 1/2 stick of butter. Go ahead and dice them as much as you can. This way you can make sure that you spread them out all over your chicken. Okay guys, now it's time to put the seasonings on top of the chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and mix it up, and then I'm gonna sprinkle it and make sure I get it all over my chicken breast. Now it's time to add your butter. You want to make sure that you kind of put it all over the chicken and not just on one side. This recipe asks for 4 garlic cloves. I'm only using 2 spoons of garlic minced because I didn't want to overdo it with the garlic, so I'm just using 2 little spoons of garlic minced, and then I'm gonna squeeze my 1 lemon on top of it. I want to make sure that I get it all over the chicken. But if you don't like lemon as much, you don't have to use this. But if you do, or if you just want to try a little bit of lemon, I would suggest that you try 1/2 of a lemon, but it's really up to you. The next thing we're going to be adding is salt and pepper. This is just for the taste. I personally would add next time some Lawry seasoning to mine just to add a little seasoning, because the salt and pepper just wasn't enough for us, so we did add that at the end. But I'm going to show you all of the ingredients that I use, just in case you didn't understand or you don't know what I'm talking about. I want you guys to see exactly what I use, and let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. The side we will be having with this is yellow rice, and I cooked that on the side right before the food was almost done. I'm going to show you before, and then I'm going to give you a glimpse of the after. I'm just showing you how I added some Lawry seasoning, and I'm going to show you how I went ahead and checked on my chicken to make sure it was done. And if it's falling apart like mine, it's definitely done. This was a very good recipe, and I even added some lemon slices just for the garnish and some parsley as well. So moving on to day 2, we are going to be making a salisbury steak in the crock pot. I'm showing you all of the ingredients that I will be using. The beef bouillon I did get in cubes, but it's best to get it mixed up already if you don't want to do too much work. I had to go ahead and boil mine on the side. It doesn't take long, but it's just another process that you would have to do. The first thing I'm going to do is get my breadcrumbs together for my meat. Make sure that your meat is thawed out and ready. You will need a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. Before I put the breadcrumbs on, I'm going to go ahead and break up my meat some. Therefore, when I put all of my ingredients on top, I can mix it better. The next thing you will be using is your onion soup mix. You will need one of the envelopes that comes in the box. You just take it out and pour it right on top of the meat. Then you will need a 1/4 cup of milk. Just add it on top as well, and then you're going to go ahead and mix it all together really good, and then you're going to make your meat patties. Now this is not the pot that I would be putting my meat patties on to fry them. I'm just using this to hold the patties right now. Just set it to the side, get you another skillet, and you will have to put some oil in the bottom of it and heat that up before you put the meat patties on. Now we're moving on to the gravy mix. I'm putting in 2 cans of mushroom soup. These are the small cans. They are a 10.5 ounce. After you finish with that, you would need a 1/2 cup of water. And like I told you, you need the bouillon, but I didn't have the mix already, so I had to mix it on the side. And that process is very easy as well. I will be showing you how I did it, but I am going to go ahead and stir this up because I did not have the bouillon ready. I went ahead and put it in the pot anyway, and I put the bouillon in whenever I got it done. The next thing you will be doing is putting your grease in the bottom of the skillet. I just filled the bottom of the skillet up with grease. Now I'll be getting my flour, and any seasoning that you want to use, you can put in the flour. And this is what we will be using to dredge the patties. And to make this, you will need 1/4 cup of flour, and I will be using Tony seasoning and also Lowry in my flour. I didn't use too much of the Tony seasoning, but I did use a good amount of Lowry seasoning, just because the Tony seasoning is a little spicy and I didn't want to make the patties too spicy. Moving on to the stove, this is what I mean by dredging the patties. I'm just going to flip them back and forth on the flour, and then I'm going to put them in the skillet. Just keep on doing this until you fill the skillet up with patties. I think I let them cook on both sides about 3 or 4 minutes. You're supposed to let them cook until they get brown on each side, and after that we're going to move them to the crock pot. So as you can see, you have to do a little bit of prep work before you get started. It does not take long. To do all of this, it took me maybe 10 minutes to do, and next time it won't take that long because now I know exactly what I have to do. I took these out and I put them in the crock pot. Nothing's in there, but the crock pot is on. I'm just going to repeat the steps because I had 3 more patties to fry. And after they're done, I'm going to put these in the crock pot as well. Now the gravy mix that you have sitting on the side, we're going to go ahead and stir that up a little bit, and we're going to move it into the crock pot, pour it right on top of the patties. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my bouillons in a pot. I'm going to run a little water on top of them, and then I'm going to put them on the stove and let it cook. After it's done, it will look like this. You only need 1 tablespoon of bouillon. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure it and put it right on top of my gravy mix. So because I had to cook my bouillon, it looks like this. But if you did not have to cook your bouillon, you already had it made, yours will look different. After it's done, it's gonna look like this. It was so freaking good, guys. I cooked mashed potatoes on the side to go with this, and it was really good. Also at the end, I just added a few parsley flakes just for the garnish. Moving right along, we are going to be having creamy Italian pork chops on the third day. I am just going to show you all of the ingredients that I will be using on today. One more ingredient that I did not place out yet is the sugar. You will need sugar for this recipe as well. But first we're going to go ahead and put some chicken broth in the bottom of the crock pot. And my little helper wanted to help me out today. So we will be using 1 cup of chicken broth. And all you have to do is just pour it down in the bottom before you put your meat in. And after I put this in, I have to put my pork chops in. And that will be the only thing we do for the next 3.5 hours, because you have to cook this before you do anything else. So now I'm just going to go ahead and let these cook for 3.5 hours on low, and then I'll come back and check on the pot, and this way I can get some things done around the house. Once again, I'm just going to show you all of the ingredients that I am using. One of the Italian seasonings I like better than the other ones, so I'm just going to take one away. I'm also showing you the measuring cups that I use, and I'm going to show you how my pork chops look after I let them cook for 3.5 hours. I'm now going to take my crock pot and empty all of the juice off of it. I'm just going to take this top and put all of my pork chops on it, just so I can make sure I get all of the juice out of the bottom of the crock pot. Now it's time to make our creamy sauce. The first thing I will be using is a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Next, I'm going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm also putting in 1/2 teaspoon of Lawry seasoning. I just have to have this Lawry seasoning in everything that I cook. Now you'll put in 1.5 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And if you don't really like Italian seasoning as much, I would suggest that you use 1/2 of it. The recipe called for 1/8 of black pepper. I'm just putting in a little bit. I'm just going to sprinkle some in my hand, and I'm just going to sprinkle some on top of the seasonings. This recipe also calls for 1/2 teaspoon of sugar as well. So now that we have all of the seasonings, I'm just going to use my 1 can of chicken broth. You pour the whole can in, and next you're going to go ahead and stir it all together. So So once you give it a good stir, we're going to go ahead and imp it on top of the pork chops. This is called a creamy Italian pork chop, so it won't be liquidy. It will be kind of thick, so if you don't like it to be too thick, you can add you some water, of course, but it was just fine for us, and it tasted really, really good, guys. So now I'll be showing you how I make our side salad. Me personally, I don't eat tomatoes or cucumbers, but I am going to add this in our salad because my husband eats it. I am also adding some shrimp and eggs, and this salad was a salad out of the bag, so it was real simple to make. And of course, I boil my eggs and my shrimp in different pots. I have already cracked open my eggs, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut them and put them in the salad. And the same goes for my shrimp. I have already boiled them. All I have to do is peel them and put them on top of the salad. To top this salad off, I'm just going to be adding some shredded cheddar cheese. This recipe has really gone down for one of my favorites. It's super easy to make, and it was real, real delicious. Moving on, we are making a lasagna in the crock pot today. I'm going to first start out by saying I knew in my mind that I should have added more seasoning to my meat or to my pasta sauce or whatever, because it to me did not have enough seasoning. But I am doing all of these recipes in the crock pot for the first time, so this is a learning experience for me. Next time I will know, what to do, what not to do. But this recipe, I don't think I will ever make this in a crock pot again, because it just did not taste as good as it would have if I would have just put it in the oven. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I did. Maybe you could see something that you might want to do differently. But it was an easy recipe to make. I just feel like you need more seasoning than what they call for. Moving right along, we're going to go ahead and brown our ground beef. The recipe asks for 1 yellow onion already diced, so you are going to go ahead and add that when your ground beef is halfway done. And then I added in 2 cloves of garlic, minced garlic. I did not show this on camera, but I did go ahead and drain my meat before I put the tomato sauce in. I am using classical tomato and basil sauce. This is what I'm talking about when I say I should have used more seasoning. I wish I would have put some seasoning on top of this tomato sauce, because it just did not have no seasoning to me. Moving right along, we're going to go over to our crock pot and spray it down with your cooking spray, whatever kind that you have. And then we're going to start layering our lasagna. Another thing that I missed, I did not put in enough lasagna noodles in my opinion. But anyways, I just want to let you guys know this from the mistakes that I made, so that you won't make the same mistakes that I made. Next thing we're going to do is put in the lasagna noodles. You don't have to cook these or anything. The recipe says. This is my first time ever cooking it in a crock pot. I always cook mine in the oven. So this is a new process for me. And I was kind of like, what? You don't cook the noodles? But it says you don't cook the noodles. But I'm going to tell you guys at the end what I ended up doing. This just wasn't a recipe for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in my ricotta cheese. The recipe says to use a whole tub of ricotta cheese. So I think I used about half on the first layer. Next up, you're going to use some mozzarella cheese, and I just sprinkled it until I felt that it was enough. After you finish with your mozzarella cheese, you're going to repeat the process: meat sauce, lasagna noodles, and then your cheese. The last thing you would do before you cover it, you would put in another jar of tomato sauce. And like I told you guys, I am using the classical tomato and basil. To me, it did not have enough taste. I'm going to keep on saying this because I do not want you guys to make the same mistake. Be sure to put in some water on the sides of your crock pot just so it won't burn on the sides, and then let it cook for 4 hours on high or 8 hours on low. So I had mine cooking on high for 4 hours. I tasted it. It was disgusting. I went ahead and took it out, put it in the oven. I put it in a pan and I seasoned it a little more, and I added some more noodles. I had to cook those, of course. And after doing all of that, it tasted much better. So we're going to move on to the last recipe, and this was by far my favorite recipe of them all. We will be making a honey garlic chicken on today, and I am just using some chicken tenders. The recipe called for chicken breast, but I mean, they're the same thing. Mine's are already cut. So we're going to go ahead and put our stove on medium high, and then we're going to add in 2.5 tablespoons of butter. It's supposed to be unsalted butter, but this is all I had. Next, you will need 1/4 cup of flour. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in another pan. You will be dredging this chicken as well after you season it. I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. Of course, I'm going to use my Lawry seasoning and also some red pepper flakes because I like spicy chicken or a little spice. I didn't go overboard, of course, but I know that me and my husband are probably going to be the only ones eating this, so it came out just right. Next, you will flip the chicken over and you will season the other side. And after you do that, you're going to go over to your stove, dredge your chicken in the flour, and then put it in your pan. So while I was seasoning my chicken, I had my butter already cooking in the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and dredge it and put it all in the skillet. I'm going to go ahead and let this cook on each side until it's golden brown, and that was about 2 to 3 minutes. And then when you flip it over, you only have to let it cook for a minute on the other side. So after my chicken finished getting brown, I'm going to go ahead and add in my 1 tablespoon of butter that I had left over, and then I'm going to add in my garlic. I'm just adding in 1 whole spoonful of garlic minced, and you're going to let the butter melt down, and then you're going to stir it after it's melted completely. So as you can see, I'm going ahead and flipping mine over because I want to make sure that my chicken is well done. Next, I'm going to be adding in 1.5 tablespoons of vinegar. As you can see, I wasted it, but I'm going to clean it up. Then I will be adding in 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And then the last thing I will be mixing in is my 1/3 cup of honey. I am going to mix this all together, but I am going to let it simmer for a minute. This way your sauce can get thicker. And that's pretty much it for this recipe. I'm just going to let that cook for a minute, let that get thicker, and then I'm going to move it over to a plate, and then it'll be ready to serve. This was a very delicious meal. I don't know who came up with this, but it was so delicious. I can definitely see myself cooking this a lot. So if you guys happen to make any of these dishes, please let me know which one you prefer the best. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.